The moment of collision. I was lost in thought when I crashed into her. Not metaphorically. Not poetically. I mean, I physically walked straight into the most dangerous being on the orbital concourse of Eric Station, and didn't realize it until the entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Eric Station was never quiet. It floated at the crossroads of 7 trade lanes, a rotating cathedral of steel and glass where humans, Aurelians, Falci, and dozens of other species moved in carefully choreographed chaos. Translators buzzed softly in the air. Gravity plates hummed beneath my boots. Neon sigils advertised services I could barely pronounce. And yet, in that moment, everything went silent. I'd been staring at my datapad, rereading a message from Earth, another polite rejection from another research council. Too human, they said, too emotional, not objective enough for interstellar xenolinguistics. I'd spent 10 years studying alien communication patterns only to be reminded, again, that humanity was still considered a junior species. So I wasn't watching where I was going. My shoulder hit something solid. No, someone, and the impact sent my datapad clattering across the floor. "I'm so sorry," I blurted automatically, already crouching to retrieve it. I wasn't looking. I looked up and froze. She stood taller than most humans, though not by much, her posture impossibly poised. Her skin shimmered faintly, like moonlight trapped beneath porcelain, marked with delicate, bioluminescent veins that pulsed slowly along her neck and temples. Her eyes, stars help me, were not one color but many, layers of violet and silver rotating subtly like distant galaxies. Her attire was unmistakably royal. Not ceremonial exactly, but unmistakable in its authority. That crystalline fabric that shifted shape as you moved, sigils embedded into the weave that marked lineage, sovereignty, and something far older than any human empire. Every alien on the concourse had stopped moving. Security drones powered up, hovering silently. A Falci merchant dropped his wares. Even the station AI dimmed the lights by a fraction. I had just collided with the alien princess of Aurelian Prime. Her name, I would later learn, was Seraphine Valorith, heir to the luminous throne, voice of the stellar concord, and a being whose whispered commands could shatter minds that were not meant to hear them. At that moment, I only knew one thing. I was very likely about to die. Her gaze locked onto mine, and I felt it, not fear exactly, but pressure, as a reality itself had narrowed around us. Aurelian royalty communicated through layered meaning, vocal tone, pheromonal resonance, psionic subtext. Humans were never supposed to be that close without shields. Her lips parted. Security alarms began to scream in my peripheral vision. Then she leaned forward, just slightly, close enough that only I could hear her, and she whispered, "Do not move," she said softly. "If you react like a human, they will kill you." The words were spoken in flawless standard galactic, but beneath them was something else, a resonance that brushed against my thoughts like a cold wind. It wasn't meant for humans, and yet somehow I understood. The whisper that changed everything. The guards reached us seconds later. Aurelian sentinels, tall, luminous beings clad in living armor, formed a circle around us, weapons half raised but not yet active. Their eyes flicked between the princess and me, confusion rippling through their collective presence. Protocol demanded immediate detainment of any being who made an authorized physical contact with royalty. Protocol also demanded obedience to the princess's unspoken will. Seraphine straightened, her expression serene, unreadable. To them, she said nothing. To me, she whispered again. Breathe slowly. Lower your eyes. Do not kneel. Every instinct screamed at me to do the opposite, but something in her voice, no, beneath it, guided me. I obeyed. One of the sentinels spoke, his voice resonating like chimes struck underwater. Your radiance. Has a human committed an offense? Seraphine tilted her head, considering. Then, calmly, she said aloud, No, the single word carried weight. Not authority, finality. The sentinels hesitated, then withdrew their weapons. A ripple of astonishment passed through the onlookers. Humans were rarely acknowledged by Aurelian royalty, let alone spared consequence. I should have walked away. Instead, she looked back at me. Retrieve your device, she said. I did. My hands were shaking. You will accompany me, she continued, as if inviting me for tea rather than conscripting me into royal proximity. For a short distance. The sentinel stiffened. Your radiance. One began. She silenced him with a glance. I swallowed. With all due respect, Princess, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Her eyes met mine again, and this time the whisper reached deeper. You are already part of it. And so, without understanding how or why, I found myself walking beside the alien princess through the heart of Eric Station, the galaxy watching in stunned silence. She spoke only when necessary, but each quiet word carried layered meaning. I began to realize, horrifyingly, that I could hear things others could not. Beneath her spoken language was a secondary channel, a harmonic structure of intent and emotion that humans were never meant to perceive. Except, apparently, me, in private chambers overlooking the station's starfield, the truth emerged. You collided with me because you were thinking in recursive patterns, Seraphine said, standing near the viewport. Human introspection creates echoes. Most species think outward. You were folded inward. I was thinking about my career, I said weakly. That is not a small thing, she replied. To you. She toned. When you struck me, your neural patterns brushed against my own. Normally, this would cause severe cognitive collapse. I feel fine, I said. She studied me intently. That is the anomaly. Over the next hours, then days, I was examined, scanned, questioned. My brain showed unusual adaptability, a rare neural plasticity that allowed partial reception of psionic harmonics without overload, a trait so rare it had no name. To the Aurelians, it was terrifying. To Seraphine, it was fascinating. You can hear the whisper, she said one night, when the stars outside burned like scattered diamonds. The true voice of my kind, and yet it does not dominate you. What does that mean? I asked. It means, she said softly, that you stand at the edge of something ancient. The truth, when it came, was worse. The whisper was not merely communication. It was command, a relic of an extinct progenitor species that had shaped the Aurelians long before humanity discovered fire. It allowed royalty to enforce harmony across their empire. But it was failing. Each generation, the whisper grew stronger, more uncontrollable. Royal heirs were losing themselves to it, becoming living conduits rather than individuals. Seraphine was the last heir, and she was afraid. I am losing my silence, she admitted, her voice barely audible. Soon, I will no longer choose when to speak. The whisper will speak through me. And me. I asked. She met my gaze. You are the only being who has ever heard it without kneeling. The Concord learned of me quickly. Some wanted me dissected. Others wanted me erased. Seraphine wanted me protected. Against all precedent, she invoked an ancient right, the binding of the unintended, declaring me under her personal protection. And just like that, a failed human xenolinguist became the most controversial figure in the galaxy. We spent weeks together. I learned Aurelian history. She learned human stories. She laughed at our music. I showed her the concept of silence as comfort, not absence. Slowly, impossibly, something changed. The whisper softened around me. I don't feel it when you're near, she confessed one evening. The pressure. We realized the truth together. Humanity's chaotic, emotional cognition didn't amplify the whisper. It disrupted it. Where Aurelians sought harmony, humans introduced variance. I wasn't immune. I was a counter-frequency. The Concord panicked. If humans could weaken the whisper, they could end Aurelian dominance. War loomed. Seraphine made her choice. A silence that echoed across the stars. The assembly hall of the Stellar Concord had never held so many beings. Delegates from 100 systems gathered beneath the crystalline dome, their combined presence humming with tension. War fleets waited just beyond sensor range. Humanity's representatives stood stiffly at the far end, painfully aware of their insignificance. At the center stood Seraphine, and beside her, against every law of decorum and safety, stood me. The whisper was loud that day. I could feel it pressing against my thoughts, a vast, ancient while demanding obedience. Seraphine's hands trembled. This is the moment, she murmured to me. If I fail, promise me you will survive. I wanted to say something profound. Instead, I said, You're not alone. She smiled faintly. Then she addressed the Concord. For millennia, she said, her voice carrying effortlessly, we have ruled through harmony enforced by the whisper. We believed at unity. We believed at peace. Murmurs rippled through the hall. But harmony without choice is stagnation, she continued. And stagnation is death. The whisper surged, trying to seize control. I stepped closer, not touching her, just close enough. The pressure eased. Gasps echoed across the chamber as the delegates felt it too, the sudden absence of that omnipresent command. Seraphine drew a shaky breath. This human, she said, placing a hand over her heart, represents chaos, emotion, unpredictability. I swallowed. And yet, she said, voice strengthening, in his presence I am free. The Concord erupted. Some shouted betrayal, others fear. A few, very few, felt something like relief. Seraphine raised her hand. I abdicate the luminous throne. Silence fell like a supernova shockwave. I will not pass the whisper to another, she said. It ends with me. The whisper screamed. Inside my skull, inside the station, inside the stars themselves. Then, slowly, impossibly, it faded. Not destroyed. Dispersed. The ancient progenitor echo unraveled, destabilized by human variance, no longer able to impose itself. When it was over, Seraphine collapsed. I caught her. For the first time, she was simply herself. The aftermath reshaped the galaxy. The Aurelian Empire transitioned to elected governance. Humanity was no longer considered junior. Our chaotic mind became a sought-after bridge between rigid species. As for me, I declined every title offered. I stayed. Seraphine and I stood often by observation windows, watching stars drift past. Do you regret it? I asked once. She shook her head. I gained silence. She looked at me, and a friend who crashed into me when the universe needed it. I smiled. I had been lost in thought. But sometimes the most important discoveries happen when you stop looking where you're going and listen to a whisper not meant for you.